They're aluminum anyway, so they're kind of soft and they kind of give a little bit, which is also a good thing. So now I'm working on the wiper blades. As far as the wiper blades are concerned, there's two sizes of the arms. One has a short knuckle on it here, and then this one, oh, you see, has a long knuckle in it. Well, you have to get two of these basically, and that's what I've got going on over here that have the short arm on them. They're the same as far as from the pivot point forward, but this is the shortest arm that you can get, and you'll see that when I modify it to be as short as it needs to be, this is the maximum. You know, we're going to a minimum again, and this is the maximum length that we can tolerate. And I can't tell you whether they came off the Challenger or not, truthfully, because I have so many of these arms from different projects that I just had a couple with the short pivot point on them. So I picked the best ones, and that's what I'm working on now. So here's a completed setup. I'll show you what I'm doing here as far as how I'm shorting it. The distance from this finished edge here out to the end of the knuckle that holds the piece in, which would be, well, this piece here is going to fit in here. Okay, what do I got here? It's the wrong thing. Oh boy, lose my mind, as if I had one to start with. Anyway, this guy here is normally, you see how this is crimped over and with the pin, normally there's this arm is in there, and it slid in there. So what I had to do is I'd cut along the edge here on the bottom side and then cut across it to pick this piece up and out of this sleeve here. This is so we get the right alignment. We also want it to be completely square with the windshield, but this helps do that, and keep, you know, getting it down firm in this little piece here. So what I'll do is once this is, see, this is marked for 1 3/8 inches to the end of this little knuckle here that holds the wiper blade. I'll put that in there and I'll weld that all up and buff it down, and it'll come out looking like this somewhat, which I've had to taper the ends because just to get this to slide onto the wiper blade itself. So that's what it ends up looking like, and on the back side I've gone ahead and I've welded it up solid and cleaned it off. So that's the total abbreviated setup, and I'm just using a 16-inch blade here, which is just a tick. I might have to just shave just a tick of it off, but I don't think so. We'll see. Anyway, this is what I've got as far as a setup, and that's what I'm proceeding with. The other issue that I'm still having, of course, is the backup camera. Now, I went ahead and pulled this dash cover, or this dash trim out, and then I took the screen out of the car, and if you recall, I told you that I had two plugs that were for the display, and they were not actually for the display. They're further down in the dashboard, and I have no idea what they're for, but they're plugged in down below, just above the heat and air controls that are down there on the console, and then below the screen. So I wanted to examine all the connections, especially the camera connection on the back side of the screen. So I took this out, 4 screws, take the screen out, flip it over, look at the bottom side, make sure that the connection was good. And it's the connection is not what I thought it would be, because I plugged in a bunch of single cables on the back side, but they were all for different things, not the camera. The camera is actually included in a large bundle that plugs into the back and has a big snap clip that goes on. It basically rotates and cams itself into position, so there's no doubt that it's in there solid. So I wanted to check and make sure that connection was solid. The other thing that I wanted to make sure of is I pulled the liner back out of this side of the the trunk, and I wanted to make sure that this was good. So this connection is good, because sometimes I was told when you're putting these together, because the electrical connections, the little tiny pins, the prongs that go together, sometimes if you're careless, they'll bend over, or they'll actually push sometimes right out of the connector. So I checked for that. Everything's fine there. Put that back together. I also checked for the there's a fuse that runs the camera. That's a 10 amp fuse. It's like the second or third one in on this fuse box that's down in the bottom over here, and that fuse is good. So the only other thing that I can't check right now, based on the way that I've assembled this, is the camera itself, which I have actually I don't have any way to check the camera to see if it's a good camera. It worked before, so I'm assuming it's still a good camera. But it can be tested by popping this out, and then I guess somebody with equipment like a dealership would have to test the camera. I was going to just go ahead and buy another camera and then plug it in and see if it worked, but they're about $200 shipped for something that aftermarket costs about $19. But you know, if you're going to get the OEM one that goes in this car, it's $175 and then shipping. And that's not just for a little experiment here. The other thing that I have to do is possibly go in to the body control module with somebody who has a scanner. We all know that Chrysler doesn't allow you to have the scanners. They're $10,000 units anyway. So last time I checked, which was a number of years ago, and then you have to get licensing if you do have a scanner from Chrysler, and so all of that's a lot of extra money to pay just to find out what's going on with the camera. If it's a software issue, as far as the connection is concerned, I've tried all the resets that have been recommended. Nothing seems to work. Physical connections was the next thing. Possible bad cameras, the next thing. I really have no facility to check out the continuity of the line. There's 6 wires going in here, or 6 wires including the ground that go all the way up to the front of the car. I wanted to check the continuity, but it's in a huge bundle on the back side of that. I couldn't be confident, basically, because of how many wires are going into the bundle on the back of that view screen. So my next thing is I'm going to have to modify this over here, this area here, so that I can actually take the camera out from the inside instead of having to dismantle this whole thing. I never thought the camera would be an issue, so I designed the mount point to screw straight up after this taillight pod's out. Well, the way I've got this little detail here, the bumper's got to come off, then the taillight pod's got to come out before you can get to the camera. And it'd be a smart thing for me, just for maintenance issues, to open this area up a little bit more if I can. You know, pull the latch off so that you can get in there, and hopefully I forget exactly how it mounts, but hopefully there's a couple of screws that go in this direction. The mounting screws that hold it right now, they're coming straight up into this housing because I've got a little bracket that it's on. But anyway, that's to be looked at, just so that if I have to go to the dealership eventually here, that I can just drive over there with everything exposed and they can plug and play, see what's going on without me standing there and disassembling this whole nonsense mess over here. All right, so I left this paint over the weekend to cure really good. It seemed like it was really tacky for a long time, but man, this stuff is really tough now. I mean, it won't scratch off with a razor or anything, which is what I was hoping for. Usually when you end up with a little bit left over in a container, even catalyzed urethane paints, you know, it'll skin over on the top, especially something this much. There's like, you can see where it's bending right here. That's the paint line right there. This is solid. I mean, the screwdriver's not even making a mark in this stuff. It's crazy. Anyway, yeah. That's nuts, huh? But I'm happy about that. Anyway, moving on. All right, instead of putting these nozzles for the windshield washers in the hood itself, gone ahead and I've popped them into the cowl, which is below the back edge of the hood over here, just behind the or in front of the wiper arms. And hopefully there's gonna throw enough water up onto the windshield to make a difference. Probably won't project all the way to the top, but who knows? No way to tell what this angle's gonna be now that it's the reason I've done that is because this car is going to be painted by Chris Carlson, so putting them in the hood, these things want to snap in pretty tight to a pretty precise hole, and if you make the hole a little bit too big or a little bit too small, they either won't go in or they'll fall out. So this is my opportunity to put them in permanently. I'll plug the hoses in, then all Chris will have to do is just cut the hoses at the barb before he takes the cowl out, and then he has enough hopefully has enough length on the hose to trim the old hose off and then plug in back to these barbs again. Anyway, I don't happen to like the way the hoses dangle in my car for the windshield washer nozzles. They come down and they're kind of, I use the stock ones and they're kind of rigid and they're kind of bent in all kinds of crazy shapes, but they always end up pulling off under the tension of the hood going up sometimes. At any rate, that's what I'm going to do for that, and I'm going to keep moving on. All right, another tedious job here, and that's the slight adjustment of the angle of this receiver for the blade. As you can see right now, that tape line represents the cowl line where the rubber cowl comes up here. So this is the base of the rubber cowl right here. And what I've got to try to do is I've got to get this blade to where it's, you know, when it's at rest, it's parallel with the top of this green tape here. And the reason is because as the wiper motor turns on, it drops down a little bit in order to get this squeegee to reverse itself. It can't just go back up in the same, once it drops, and it can't just go back. It has to drop down and kind of kick the squeegee blade back in this direction, so we get a sweeping motion like this. So we have a bit of space, like a half of an inch from here down, where it wants to, when you start the wiper, it wants to travel down just a little bit. So I got to keep it from running into the rubber base of the cowl at the base of the windshield. At the same time, when it's at rest, I'm trying to get it as low as possible, so that means I have to turn this a little bit more. I've already cut it once here and turned the knuckle, but just the slightest movement here creates, you know, a pretty severe angle. So I've got this carpenter's angle finder, and I'm basically going along here to try and see where that's supposed to be, so that when I take this arm off and I adjust it and I cut that and re-weld it, I'll be close to where I need to be, hopefully. Well, that's a little bit of back and forth to do this, but it's you don't want them on there crookedy. So I'm getting ready to pack up this glass here, and a good way to protect the edges is just take some you know, some pipe foam, you know, 1-inch pipe foam that you would insulate your pipes in your house with. It's already got a, you know, a split on it that you could just put on the edge of the glass like that, fit it around there like a C. Add a notch out for this corner over here, but you can see how this just pushes onto the glass right there. And I'll tape them all together so they don't come off, but that protects the edges from getting chipped up. It's a good thing to have that on there. You know, if you want to store a piece of glass, and you're just going to make sure that anybody runs into it, that's got a little bit of a protection there. Anyway, thought I'd show you that. Now, pool noodles work okay too, but you got to slice those. Okay, so that's both of the wipers running now and in place, and good to go. Pretty happy with that, much as I can be. You know me, I'm a jolly fellow. All right, after a lot of back and forth, these are the final components I ended up with for the signal light. Right here is just a piece of 50 thousandths aluminum, and on top of that I've got a mylar film. Let me show you what that looks like. This is what it looks like as far as how reflective it is. It's just a little rough because this is just a scrap piece with some imperfections, but either way, it's almost you know, a true mirror. And initially I thought, well, I got to get as much reflection as possible, so I was going to put this mirror up underneath the headlight door, stuck with this double stick adhesive that's used for trim moldings, and then a couple glops of the urethane that you would seal a windshield in with to take up the irregularity, because this is going over a curve, obviously, so there'll be a gap on the back side. So a couple of glops of that material. I've already got one in here already. It works fine as far as how it's seated in there, and then the windshield material, the urethane Took up the gap as far as the curvature of the inside of the door here. That's a Mylar mirror over here, by the way. This is out of an old TV set, one of those projector screen TVs, which is something when I'm working alone and I want to check the signal lights. I'm going to stand over there by the driver's side of the car. I can see the front of the car or the back of the car and check the lights with that mirror. That's something else altogether. But anyway, so in the actual grill area itself, a couple of things. I didn't want to obstruct the airflow, so this doesn't do that. Basically, the air hits this and then goes up a little bit, but it's not a dam. It's not like I have a light fixture in this hole here, you know, blocking the airflow. So this sits in the nose on an angle here. This mirror is on an angle here, and the headlight and the running light and the blinker light project right into this angled mirror here. And then as you can see here, it projects down onto this aluminum surface. Now originally I was going to put some Mylar on this surface here, but when you do that, you can see everything inside the nose. You can see the control arms, you can see the ring around the headlight and everything like that. So I just tried it with the dull surface of this aluminum, just like this, and it seems to work fine. So I'll set this up quickly. I still haven't. I'm going to rivet this in here, but I haven't done that yet, so I'm going to just put it in there and show you what all that looks like. Okay, so you can already see the running light that's on underneath the nose, and then turning the blinker on. That's what it looks like, and that's just reflecting off of that aluminum surface. It's plenty bright. Also, because of the sides being folded around, you can see it at different angles. The light's projected on either side, so that seems to work pretty good and saves me digging into the wiring harness and anyway, and having extra fixtures. Now I got to put it all in there permanently. All right, as you can see from that last clip, the camera's up and running again, and so I decided, the last thing I wanted to do, I decided to go ahead and cut a large access hole here so that the camera can be serviced from inside the trunk. I don't know why I didn't do that in the first place, but I was being super conservative. But it meant that you had to take the bumper off and the center light pod out in order to get to this camera. So now it can be serviced here. And the situation was basically there's a small retainer clip, a plastic retainer clip that had come off right here. It's gone completely. It's probably down in the light fixture somewhere, or who knows where. And this is just basically shuffled loose a little bit, and that was the only thing that was wrong with it. But now it won't clip in, so I'm having to create a retainer myself that'll go around the wire. And then I'll have it secured to the outside of this housing here, and that'll keep it from shuffling back anymore. It's more positive than anything that the factory would provide, and I'm going to call that a win. Anyway, okay, so here's the retainer for that now. It's basically a piece of thick plastic with a fork that goes behind the neck of the cable, and basically holds it against the connector, or holds it against the camera itself so that it doesn't back out. And it's screwed into here, so hopefully we won't have that issue again. Yeah, there's something I want to show you on the in the department of better lucky than smart. On my car, I had to put weld a little loop here to hang this cloth piece up here to get in there to work on the battery and get anything out of the underspace there where the spare tire is. But with this car, for some reason or other, you just take this and fold it, and it pops right up on top like that and holds itself up. So I'll take that too. Anyway, get out of this trunk for a little while. All right, after my first test drive, a number of issues came up. The springs are way soft. I heard a bottoming noise while I was going over some pretty big gallywumpuses in the road. And the springs are soft enough here that it's actually, the tire was actually hitting this plastic liner here. So I'm gonna have to see what I can do to trim the spot where I've got, I can't even show it to you. Well, let me see if I can get some light on the subject here. Maybe you can see it. But it's right there, and that's puzzling to me because, well, it's not puzzling to me. I don't know why that guy just said that. You know, we've got the 2-inch spacers, so it kicks the edge of the tire way out here. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but bottom line is that this is the stock wheel tub, so, you know, 2 inches in, there would not have been a clearance issue here, but as it is, we're out beyond that, and that's where the edge of the tire is hitting right here. So I've got to do something. If there's any metal work above there, I'll have to redo that metal work to get the clearance in this area here. Otherwise, that scraping noise is going to be prevalent while you're driving this car. We're also going to get a couple of spring rubbers in here, maybe just boost the spring rate a little bit, based on the fact that this thing is sitting so low at this point that the plastic cover underneath the engine is about 2 inches off the ground, which that's just a little bit too low for my comfort. But if I can get it just maybe another inch of clearance under there, I think that'll be better. The biggest issue, of course, which is my nightmare since the beginning of this, and with these Chargers, if you have a stock opening, even though this fender's been taken out really wide, is when you steer these tires out. There's a rub mark, as you can see on the inside here. Let's see if I can get this on the camera. Right there. So that rubs the paint right off of there. So first possible remedy before I go beating on the body, because I can beat that rim in somewhat, but I don't think that's going to cure it. These tires, the width, the offset of hub, all can be adjusted. I have a set of these RT tires and rims, which the space between the back of the hub and this outer ridge of the tire is an inch further in than these tires. These tires, they're about 10 inches across. I think these are 8.5s. These can be widened from the face to the back in order to get a little bit more tread width in the front. But right now, what I'm struggling with is the fact that the face of this hub relative to the face of the tires is out far enough that when it rotates, that the leading edge of the tire scuffs the fender on the inside. Anyway, I'm going to try these smaller rims on there for mock-up to see how that'll go. We'll have to base the final wheel choice on how that works out. Hopefully that's enough to do the trick. And at any rate, that's what I'm dealing with. I also have an issue with the window on this side. I was hearing a lot of wind noise, and I thought it was from the fact that my windshield is just taped in, but my wife took a ride with me just to kind of see what was going on while I was driving, because I get distracted easily. And the window wasn't seating in this at all, so it was just laying on the outside here for some reason or other. So I got to dig back into the door and readjust that glass. That's why we shake them down. All right, if you can see the plastic tub over there, I cut a pretty large area out of there just to be sure that I got enough material removed so this won't become an issue later on down the line. And inside, the metal that was behind it in this direction here, the wheel tub comes down this way, and it was hitting right in this general area right over here where my index finger is. So let me get this light on here. And so you can see that I had to cut through the secondary layer here, which is the steel. Now I've got, and this aluminum piece here that patches it to the body. Anyway, I've got to fill this piece in. I'm working on fabricating a little closure for that right now. Put that up in there, and then I've got to get a closure. Put this whole wheel tub back in, and then make a closure for that. That'll clearance for the tire. I do that on the other side too. All right, so the final thing is I've got to fill in where I cut out the plastic wheel tub. And basically this is what I've got here. I spent a little time with heat gun and sheet metal brake and some of my metal tools like the shrinker stretcher. Once you soften the plastic up a little bit, it moves pretty quickly. Anyway, it's a thermoplastic, so it's meant to do that. It's used for vacuum forming, so it's meant to stretch. At any rate, this is the piece that I'll be putting in the upper portion of the wheel arch where it was hitting the flat. There was a flat section that went from here to here, and there was a small scuff mark here where when the car was, we were hitting a few bumps in the road that were pretty severe. I would hear a little noise like that, and it turns out to be a little rub mark in this one little area here. Now, in addition to this, I'll be adding some spring rubbers to increase the rate of these springs in the back here a little bit. Basically, spring rubbers are just what they sound like. They're rubber spacers that fit between the coils. They're used in racing to increase spring rate. So you can add 1, 2, 3, 4, as many as you need in order to get it to exactly where you want it, so that you don't get quite the rebound that you don't want. At any rate, I've got those on order. They won't be in here till early next week. So in the meantime, I'll do the other wheel arch and get that part of it out of the way. All right, I had to take the wheel tub back out in order to properly install this piece, based on the fact that I had to put these backup washers on the back side of the plastic so it didn't come apart, and you get an idea of what this piece looks like relative to where it was. That's about 3/4 of an inch more clearance there, and this is the piece that I took out, and that was somewhere in this neighborhood right here. So you could see where I was having the issue of the scuffing right there every once in a while when I was doing probably about 60 miles an hour on a country road, which has, once in a while you'll get a big gallywampus in the road, and when I would hear that noise. Anyway, that's what I've got going on here. Hopefully that's enough between that and adding some stiffening up those springs a little bit with some spring rubbers. Maybe we'll have that knocked out. Anyway, we've got to do the other side now. Okay, I worked on this fender a little bit. What I did was I went ahead and you can see that the way the fender comes down, there's a body line right here where it changes direction and comes down. I tried to maintain that across here, and that wasn't going to be possible. So what I did was I basically flattened it to where it follows all the way down the same curve, just over the tire here. It basically comes down at that same angle. The other thing I did was I took this, and while I have this is 90 degrees here, faded off, I had it rolled, but I didn't have it completely flattened out. Now I have it completely flattened out, as you can see, with the wheel cranked. Of course, I don't have the car fired up. It's as far as I could crank it by hand. I'm going to have to try and see how that goes. But anyway, we're going to try and put a little lift in the front here too, with some spring rubbers in the front. See if that lifts that a little bit. But right now this should work okay, because when the car comes down, it gains camber. That means it rolls in, the tire rolls up, but it also rolls in. Of course, it's just extreme parking lot stuff. So what I did was I made this template here that goes across here, and I brought it out to meet this template, and I'll show you the difference on the other side. Well, let me show you that again. Didn't show you that very well. And you can see how that comes out to there. I still have to work on the other side. This other side over here, as you can see, there's quite a bit of difference there. How that, it's almost probably about 1/2 of an inch over there. Combine that with the way this is another probably 3/8 of an inch. So that's probably about at least 3/4, 7/8 of an inch that I gained on clearance on this side. It wouldn't totally hurt to narrow the wheels up a little bit, but for now, until we get the spring rubbers in and I take it for a test drive and see if both of these solutions are, good enough, we won't make a strict decision on the wheel size here. But anyway, so the car's still at its full drop, and it's got the wheels that it came with, and the fenders don't look horrible. I thought that if I brought that out that it would look terrible, but it doesn't look bad. And again, that may or may not be enough clearance in the back. Again, I'd rather test it out with the spring rubbers in it, stiffen up those springs just a little bit in the back before I take it for another test drive concerning these issues. I might take it out before I get those spring rubbers, but I won't expect 100% clearance without the spring rubbers in place. We'll see. Also, I'd just like to show you that in between things, I got this window adjusted here to where it'll go up into the seal, which is a big deal because that was where all the wind noise was coming from when I took it out for the test drive. I thought it was from the windshield, but that wasn't as horrible as I thought it was going to be. So anyway, ticking off the list. Hopefully nothing else new arises, but I think we're moving in on the final finish line here. Well, I just got done with this side. I put it back on the ground, fired it up, and steered it out, and we still have some interference issues, which I thought that would happen once the engine fired up and I got the full power steering and I was able to crank the wheel as far as it would go. Cranking it over by hand without the power steering running, it doesn't show you exactly where that's going to end up. It cranks a little bit further, but at least it's not pushing the fenders out now like it was. And we're going to try a couple different solutions to see how we could sneak up on maybe raising the car up just a little bit. I blocked it up earlier and back up to the stock height that the car came with, the springs that it came with, to see what that would look like, and it wasn't that great. It didn't completely kill the car, but it lost a lot of its flavor, that's for sure. So we'll keep whittling it at it, as they say. Regardless of all of that, this is probably the last video I'm going to do on this car, and I'd just like to thank everybody for following along and all the enthusiasm and the interaction. It's been helpful to keep going. It's been over 1.5 years since I started this build. It's probably it is the longest build I've ever done, and probably the most extensive, and it's been a real challenge, and I appreciate it, like I said, everybody that's followed along. I am probably going to do a walk around video later on in collaboration with Greasy Corner Garage. It's another channel a friend of mine has, and they've got proper cameras and stuff, so we'll get this thing out maybe at the park or something, and maybe some shots of it on the road, and we'll go on from there. As far as going forward, I don't have any immediate plans for any YouTube projects beyond this for right now. That could change, but right now all the projects I have out ahead of me are non-automotive related, household in nature, if you will. So that's going to keep me busy for quite a long time before I can get back to this stuff. And so the channel's going to go dark for a little while, I would say, and I can't tell you when I'll be back for sure. But like I said, thanks for hanging in there on this build. I appreciate everybody, and on the way out I'll just throw a little bit of footage of the car coming out of the garage, and a little bit of a slideshow of some of the different angles of the car out in the sun, out in the front driveway. Thanks a lot, and I will see you when I see you.
get to the other side.